welcome to Alpha Leading Tech Talk, a channel where we dive deep into technologies like cybersecurity, cloud, data center, a channel that is focused on business growth, and main participants are founders and CEOs of companies that are driving growth in these areas. And we cover all the latest developments, the challenges, and the operations in those fields. Today with us is Jim Slick and Chris Reimiller from Slick Cybersystems. And Slick Cybersystems is a company that is specializing in delivering outsourced virtual support and managed IT services, mostly in the areas of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. So welcome, Jim. Welcome, Chris. It's a pleasure to
Thank you. Nice to be here
today in our channel, in our call. So I would like to start from Jim mostly. So Jim, would you be able to say a little bit about your journey? So how it started from engineering, and then you switched to be a business owner or create the company, MSSP or MSP leader in your area. So how did this switch happen from engineering to a business creator?
Long story, but I'll make it as short as possible. I actually started out as an electrical engineer and coming out of college, and I wasn't doing that for more than 3 or 4 months. The company that I was working for at the time wanted to start an MIS department, which was what it was called before IT. And so that's what I did, and I worked in that, in I'll call it the private sector, if you will, for 13, 14, 15 years, 16 years. And then I decided it was time to do my own thing. I just saw rapid growth. Rapid growth in in technology and services, and so yeah, I was kind of in it from day one, and had to learn all the old stuff, and make one computer talk to another was a big deal back then. And yeah, I'm dating myself, I guess, a little bit, but so yeah, I just thought it was time to start my own thing, and I knew I could do it better than some other competitors that I had seen that had actually worked for me independently. So here we are, almost 20 years later, just with this company.
So exactly, this is a 20-year journey. So from your perspective, how difficult was to enter the market 20 years ago? And what has changed? So how difficult is to enter the market today? So what has changed in your perspective? Was it easier when you started? Was it less challenging, or it's more challenging today? More companies,
Yeah,
more.
it was way less challenging back in the day. Services were new. Most everything was on-prem. Cloud services really they just weren't around much at the time. Very little when we started the company. Today, it's much more challenging. MSP space is a lot busier than it has been ever. There's just more and more and more, so the market's kind of flooded with MSPs. So yeah, I think it's far more difficult today. But the only saving grace is there's a lot of technology forthcoming, and be it cloud, AI, et cetera. It's Lord knows where it's going to go, but it's definitely going to go in another radical direction pretty soon.
So, Chris, I guess you are also engaged with sales and Slick Cybersystems, right? Or a similar role. You would like to say a little bit your function in Slick Cybersystems, and what is your experience from the markets, from your perspective? Is it something that has become tougher? It is easier now to navigate? There are more opportunities, less opportunities?
Sure. I would. Is it about 14 or 15 years that we're together now? Here, you and I.
15. Yes,
15. Yeah. So shortly after, within a couple of years of Jim starting, I started working with him. My function is sales marketing, and that is kind of a misnomer. Yeah, you get to be the fortunate part. You get to be the front person that talks to potential customers or accounts. You're account facing. So great part. You get to meet those wonderful people and start hearing about their the issues of their challenges and understand where they struggle and help them come up with solutions that meet their technical needs and put them where they need to be. In addition to that, you understand that like Jim said, it is that from when I started working with him, and I had done some technical things prior to being with him, it's definitely a lot different. Definitely a lot different, and I would likely say more difficult just because of the rapid change that how rapidly it's changing. With I would say probably the biggest thing that we like to complain and grumble amongst ourselves is like security, how it changes so quickly. It's changing so quickly, and so
So, so the major
it's different.
concern,
Yeah.
so the major concern that you are voicing or that you are expressing is how fast the security threat landscape changes.
And how we have to deal with it, how like the tools that you have to use or roll out, the adoption from customers, the challenges they have with those technologies, and ultimately, are they better, or are they do we find them to be more tedious in trying to protect the system? I like to complain about two-factor. It makes me crazy.
So the main concern is that something may happen and then you may not able to respond to that incident, and then credibility will be lost or will be a little bit not a pleasant situation, right?
That's always a concern, I would say.
Yeah. Yep.
So it is not really then your major or then your number one concern competition from other MSPs or MSSPs, right? Because also the number of clients has grown over the past years, or the need for cybersecurity. So
Certainly.
I hear that your major concern is the threat landscape that changes every day, so you cannot really cope with it.
Yeah, and not just the threat landscape, just the technology in general is just changing and changing and changing, and you have to be on top of it, all of it, and
Nice.
it's a daunting task.
Yeah, I think it's the piece is when you start to look at a new technology that comes out, let's just pick on security. And we mentioned two-factor. It's adoption. Is it a realistic? Is it going to have some sort of like a lifespan, or is it just going to be one of those ones that comes and goes real quickly? Because there are techs that come, go away, change, morph, you know what I mean? And then it makes you pine for a time where some things were a little simpler, but it is definitely a concern that is it going to advance things like security? Is it truly going to make things more secure? Or is it just another thing that's going to impede your work? That's something I hear a lot from customers.
And I guess now also, Jim, the situation has changed because when you started, indeed, there were only on-prem installations or clients, but now you will have on-prem and cloud in different regions or different countries with different laws or different operation regulations. So how do you find this? Is it a bigger challenge now to cope up with your customers, or the tool sets is already there to support this?
Oh, tool sets are there to support it without a doubt, but it can be challenging because now you've got, I mean, typically at Microsoft 365, I would say just about every company is probably in that at some degree. So Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, definitely tool sets are there to monitor that stuff. But when you're talking Active Directory in the cloud, right? Entra ID, and then your local Active Directory, so who's the winner? Right now, we've kept everything on-prem, syncing to the cloud. But I mean, there's good and bad to that. And but to me, right now, the goods outweigh the bads, as opposed to making Entra ID the source, and pushing it backwards. So I guess yes, it is more challenging because there's more geographic independence. But again, with the proper tool sets that our company has that we've built and designed, we have our thumb on the pulse of that, constantly. So I feel comfortable with either. So if that makes any sense.
Do you have any customers that are scared or are afraid to have their um, LDAP database, their database of employees to the cloud?
Just about all of them. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, there's well, all right, let me dive into the good and bad a little bit more. The good, when everything was on-prem, it was behind four walls. You knew there was only one way to access it, excluding VPN. I'll leave that out for the time being. You walked into the office, you plugged in, credentials were on site, backups were done on site, or backups potentially, pushed to the cloud, which is all we do anymore. It was a relatively secure environment. Now that you're talking pushing things to the cloud that you no longer have control of, you the customer doesn't have direct control of. Even we the MSP that working for you, we don't have direct control of it either. Yes, we have hands-on tool sets that for example Microsoft gives us, but at the end of the day, they are responsible for maintaining security, maintaining, this, that, and the other thing. And let's face it, we've seen in the last, even year alone, how many major data breaches have happened with secure systems. And
Or even just outages, just simple
oh,
outages like AWS had an outage a couple days ago.
yeah, outages, obviously slow you down, and work basically stops at that point, but it's not lost. It's not,
Yeah, true.
oh my goodness, what did we lose? Blah blah blah. Now, in today's, if let's just say M365 did get completely hacked, everybody's, stuff got stolen, right? Credentials got stolen. And that's a lot of work for the MSP and the user community, right? And that the business owners have to, basically take the hit for this because it's going to cost everybody time.
Yeah, and apart
Time's
from
money.
time, yeah, and apart from time is also credibility. If imagine that you are working for a company and you hear then after 1 week that your credentials and your personal information that was stored in Cloud X now travel.
Right.
Um,
Precisely.
That's almost a daily occurrence anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
so that's a big topic indeed. So um, how much of this data are protected in these types of cloud environments? And uh, I remember from our previous conversations that you are advising your clients not to keep very confidential information to the cloud, right? Only the application.
Yeah. It's I mean, the only exception to that rule is when, like a NetSuite, for example, we have a customer that just switched to NetSuite, which is Oracle, and 100% cloud-based. Then you're, as I said before, you're now reliant on Oracle to make sure that that data, that very, very, very sensitive data, remains safe. And with a company the size of Oracle, it's like, okay, yeah, I could put some faith, some trust in that. But still, at the end of the day, if it doesn't need to be on the cloud, I would keep it on-prem personally.
For example, companies that will need to have credit card information from their clients and this type of really personal data. So because
Right.
they they do operate financial operations on a daily basis with clients, and
Right.
it could be a serious thing if this data is stolen. So
Right. And not to say that it couldn't get stolen, on-prem. I just personally feel there's less of a chance that they're going to peg. Now, a massive company, different story. There's always a bullseye, on the big companies, the Fortune 50, Fortune 100, even Fortune 500. But when you start getting down to the SMB market, which is what we cater to mostly, that is far less likely to get targeted than a Fortune 500. However, that being said,
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
still happens, and
Yeah.
we've seen the attempts of it, and
Yeah.
and successfully blocked and mitigated risk for a couple of companies. But it's possible. Anything is possible.
So thanks so much for this comment. So how do you look AI, meaning you operate a security operations center, and I believe for some of your clients, you would be monitoring security alerts and you would be advising them or even
Correct.
proactively taking action to mitigate incidents, right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
Correct.
now, are you using humans or you're using an AI bot that would be looking?
Combo. It's a combination. There are actual humans, a lot of them, that are watching the data, but the data is being compiled from various components and layers in our strategy, right? Layers on a cake. They all feed back into a single pane of glass type thing. And then, AI is looking at that. It's looking for patterns that are, okay, this shouldn't happen when this happens, but humans also looking at that. So AI may say, well, this doesn't quite look normal. The human then comes in there and looks and says, yeah, this is normal, or no, this isn't normal. So yeah, it's a combination. It really is.
So AI is helping in that direction, right?
It's helping.
So
Yeah,
initially it will filter some information and would keep the relevant information to be presented to humans to make a final decision. So it is
right.
a tool that is helping. How worried are you that these tools, maybe they are in-house tools, maybe they are provided from a third party? So maybe you're leveraging a third party
We
to.
are.
So what is the risk that these tools um, do not function properly, or there's something happened, or they are also attacked by someone? So what is the risk of of the security or the integrity of those tools for you?
Um, at some point in time, you have to put faith into your process. And the fact that we have so many layers in that process with, each checking each other, I think that, and along with that human supervision and intervention, I think that that's what keeps it sane and actually
Yeah.
functioning properly. Because the minute you let AI start doing its own thing, things can get ambiguous real fast, and scary, because you don't. It's artificial intelligence. I mean, it is what it is. It's not a human looking at a problem that knows the customer, that understands their business exactly. At least today. I mean, who knows? 5 years from now, it may far surpass whatever. But I'm just speaking in today's terms right now. Um, but yeah, I think we're safe in that regards because the tools are very well designed, and again with a layered approach. It's not just one tool or one tool set. It's a layered approach, and then you have humans looking over that. So
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Chris, we're discussing, and your experience was that the market has changed after COVID. So maybe there are not so many buyers, or the interest of the buyers is not that big. What is your experience as you pick? I guess you speak with more people from the sales and marketing perspective. What is your
Yeah.
experience? How the market has changed after COVID? Is it still?
Well, initially, I think everybody would recognize that, like as COVID was going on, that push towards I need the availability of remote work and the possibilities of the tools that allow me to work regardless if I'm at my normal office. Heaven forbid there's a fire or another COVID type scenario, right? We want to be able to work regardless of where we're at, get the job done. So we've moved on from that. They realize that those pieces can be done, but now it's we're seeing that, I would say, things like compliance and insurance, cybersecurity insurance, those pieces that I as a business owner, or that the business owners come to you and say, well, I have true concerns with regard to this. I need to get cybersecurity insurance. The government is requiring a certain level of compliance, or my bank requires compliance. So for those customers that you're interfacing with, say now, are more concerned with what are the pieces that I may or may not have, what is covered under, like, say, current, if you're working with them as a current client, or where are the pieces that, because they don't have these pieces in place, they're not looking at compliance, that they won't qualify if they do have a cybersecurity event, something negative that happens. So that is definitely where a lot of it. You were going to say something, Joe?
Yeah, and I was going to say, and in the post-COVID, what it really did, in my eyes, was it took business continuity and expanded it significantly. It's like, oh, it's not just a fire in the building,
Yeah.
or data center flooded. Now it's,
Yep.
oh, well, okay, now people can't be near each other, and so how do we continue to work? So, VPN became a huge thing, obviously
Mhm.
zero trust entering into that, now, but cloud services became much more less frowned upon because, oh, well, geez, if nobody can come into the data center, we have to access it anywhere anyway.
Yep.
That's a double-edged sword, which we talked about earlier. But I think that is primarily a function of, it woke up business to say, you have to prepare for a business continuity event. Not necessarily disaster recovery, business continuity. It's
Yeah.
different.
Yep.
And I think that is what post-COVID has brought to the table,
Big spotlight. Yeah.
which has given MSPs like ourselves the opportunity to say, okay, we need to tell the business, you need to do this differently now,
Mhm.
whether it's access, whether it's security. Remember all those layers of security that really didn't exist quite as heavy, I don't think, at least from a remote access perspective, as it did post-COVID. So that's my take on the whole, you know, post-COVID stuff.
Yeah.
It woke everybody up.
Yeah. But remote work's available, but that also means that there's a lot more people out there trying to get into your network, like you was just saying.
Right.
Like there could be, genuinely
Well,
your salespeople or
it,
whoever, or bad people.
it it opens up the attack vectors, right?
Yeah.
There's more targets now because we have all these people at all these different locations. Okay, well, maybe I can't get into the main site, but if I hack, this guy at home
Mhm.
trying to
Yeah.
work it. So again, the attack vectors changed, which is what caused, the explosive amount of breaches. And then, which obviously cybersecurity insurance then became a big
Mhm.
thing, and then the government and the cybersecurity insurance companies and, excuse me, government agencies are now going, okay, well, now it's a compliance issue. So it kind of flowed from one pond into the next, and now we have a massive lake. So it's just kind of the way it is.
So you use this term, business continuity plan, that would very nicely resonate to a large company. People there would definitely understand it and would
Mhm.
seriously see what it is and how they would create these processes. So if you would use this term to a small or medium business, what people answer back is, what is this, or what do you get as a result?
We we actually do intentionally to every one of our clients, customers. Some say, "Oh, I'm too small," and of course, I try to say, "You're not too small." And if it does happen, chances are there's like a 70% chance you'll be out of business within a year, if something major happens internally. Um, and most of the small ones will go, oh, well, I'll take that risk. At some point in time, they're not going to be able to take that risk. And that point in time is coming soon because, again, the attack vectors are getting wider and they're getting more precise. AI is starting to help
Yeah.
some of those people. Or it's all good. It's used for good. It's also used for bad. So I think from that standpoint alone, um, it becomes a real question of, can you afford not to have a business continuity plan? We try to give them as much disaster recovery from an IT standpoint as they can afford, based on how elaborate, right, that it could be, and your time to recovery. But as far as them saying, well, do I have a pen, and a pad of paper? Do I have a computer somewhere else? Do I have a laptop somewhere else that I can function? If this happens or that happens, I think they need to realize that, it's not just brick and mortar, put your shingle up and call it a day. There's a lot more to it now, and compliance from insurance companies, et cetera, they're going to drive that. And it's inevitable. And that's going to happen within the next 12 months, my opinion.
It's how, yeah, we see it.
What's
We see
happening
it now.
now.
It's happening now. Yeah.
I just meant forced on everyone.
Yeah. Actually, a business continuity plan should be in place even if the company has one employee, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
if there's from statistical surveys, after a data breach, 40% of the companies close within a month, and another 30% close within a year. So if something happens,
right.
70% of the companies close within a year.
Right.
That's
Scary. It's scary.
yeah.
If you think about it, if let's just say a crypto comes in, you've had no protection, you have no immutable backup, nothing. Who do your AR and your AP? How do who's your customer? Well, I don't know all of them, by name right now, and their addresses and their phone numbers. How much do they owe you? How much work do you have to do for them? AP, all right. Well, what bills do I have to pay? Who are my vendors? You think about that. If you were literally stripped of your entire AP and AR, your financials, you wouldn't be able to pay anybody. You wouldn't know how to get paid, who they were going to getting paid from. I mean, even so, doing taxes at the end of the year, right? It just all
Yeah.
it's a disaster. It's a total disaster at that point. You're at a loss. You're done.
Yeah, and that increases the significance. How that also highlights how these times have changed. So, as you were mentioning from the beginning, that the threat landscape has increased so much. So, the majority or vast majority of the companies need the cybersecurity protection and compliance in order to
Right.
operate properly.
Yeah.
Right. Correct. Yeah, it has not been a linear progression. It's been logarithmic, and
Yeah.
and especially now, but it's just the way it is.
So, Chris, tell us, so from the marketing and sales perspective side, so what are challenges that you find? What things are working, and what things you see that the market does not respond or react as you would expect?
Yeah, I would say it's essentially what we just been talking about. Things like smaller businesses. What tends to happen? Let's just pick on those small to medium businesses, right? Small to medium business is often an operational based business or a sales based business in the sense that they're dealing with the issues that they have to do today. What are the things my outputs need to be today? I need to sell. I need to make. I need to do a service, right? So they're worried about that piece of it. But the background pieces that need to be done, like, as we're talking with IT or, compliance or your cybersecurity insurance, all those pieces are often overlooked and they're pushed much lower on I need to worry about it. I need to schedule time for it. I need to work on that. It is something I need to move along every day or at least every week in a positive direction. A lot of businesses, small, again, medium, just small to medium businesses, don't look at it until they're at the point of where there's a collapse, an imminent collapse, or something has already happened. And then it's, oh, what do I do? If they're in the right place and we meet them at the right point before they've gotten to the point of where something, there's been an event that, like Jim had mentioned, where they've lost their systems, we can come in and fix it. But if they don't take those threats seriously, and you're speaking to pick on any kind of small to medium business, and they're more worried about, I just got to get whatever my thing done today, or this week, or I just have to worry about this, then we don't have the ability to help them make sure they don't have those kind of collapses or issues.
Right.
So it's that understanding that the process of making sure your business is protected and that your data is backed up and all those things that go along with it. That's something that's constant. You need to be working. If you don't have somebody internally, that you have to have someone that's a champion internal that reaches out to like a partner like we would be if you don't have your own department. So they help you make sure that you're staying on the path of, hey, this is what we need to do and this is what the plan looks like.
That's our job.
Do you receive as an answer, yes, we will think about it, we will contact you in XYZ days or weeks, we don't because there's no budget, or but have you received these types of answers and how would you reply?
I would say that's a fairly, again, it depends on a business that is smart and understands that these things happen. They've already decided they're going to put an effort, they're going to put a budget into it. They've dealt with either their compliance where they're trying to get cybersecurity insurance or a doctor's office, something along the lines of that. They need those things. They understand I need to get this so I can continue to work. The ones that don't have that, don't have somebody internal that's worried about it or some sort of external pressure that I need to have a firewall. I need to have some sort of compliance piece in place so that my customer data is protected. Those are the businesses that overlook it, and they'll be the ones that say, it's not in the budget right now. Oh, that's too expensive, or it won't affect us because we're too small. You were going to say something, Jim?
Yeah, and that comes to the point where leadership ownership is ignorant.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that a negative connotation, that they just don't know. They're not aware of the dangers and the risks. They need to be educated to understand, if you don't do this, here's the potential. If you're willing to take that risk, at least you're educated. But if you're not educated and you're willing to take the risk, well, you don't know what you don't know. That's ignorance. And that needs to change. So, ownership needs to at least understand, the dangers of not knowing. And again, if they choose to do nothing about it, then, well, it's on them. But
yeah, we tend to find that in the business circles where businesses, might likely have, if it's a single proprietor or a partnership or something, they have friends or other types of businesses that they talk to, people that they know in their friendly circle, if you will, their friendship circle, and they likely are other business owners. One of them only needs to have some sort of scary incident where they lost data, they have an outage, someone got into their system, and they've lost weeks worth of work or whatever it is, and then suddenly that group starts talking amongst themselves, and then they start engaging with you, and on like I'm truly concerned this happened to my friend Bill or Bob or whatever. Then it becomes they become a lot more receptive to change and to, like, I need to look at this. This is actually important.
Yes, indeed. And there's a survey from some psychologists that they say that in the beginning, the level of when their knowledge or awareness is little, the level of confidence is very high because simply you're not aware, or people are not, simply because they're not aware of the risk of what it is that someone opens your data. It's like your home and your data now is gone and all the credibility of your company on someone else's hands, maybe in the public or for sale. And it's not a
Scary.
nice thing. So yeah, because I'm saying this because for some companies from the executive side, they see assets and liabilities. They see income and expenses. And for them, the IT infrastructure or insurance, IT insurance is an expense. It's not an income generating activity. And there you will need to come in and say that it is the tool that really safeguards that you will keep
sort of
generating income.
Asset protection. Yeah.
Otherwise, the risk of not generating income at all will become really higher, and then
Mm.
company may
Yeah.
be at serious risk. It is a message that a lot of larger companies, they understand that
Yeah.
um, because they communicate with a bigger cycle of people or professionals, so they are aware of such incidents and they can protect themselves. Most of them, I have examples of very big companies that they suffered ransomware attacks out of the blue, and then they decided to invest on their cybersecurity programs, unfortunately. But most of them, they understand. Maybe it's the small to medium businesses that they say exactly as Jim said, it will never be me.
It's unfortunate, but that's true.
Yeah, it was the ostrich theory, right? You know, sticking your head in the sand does not protect your rear end.
So, so, and Chris, how do you find it? Is it difficult to expand the customer base? Is it something easy to happen, or is it something difficult, or is it something?
Yeah, I would say that the most difficult thing on that end of it is you have to have someone that actually, like how we discussed, has some semblance of their at least a level of concern, like that it's a possibility. That's one. And then the other part of it is that they're willing to be educated or understand that, even though you may not be technical, you may not be a overly technical person, or even your business may not be overly technical what you do. Maybe it's you dig ditches, whatever that piece is. But there's still a component of your business that requires protection. If you drive a vehicle, for a delivery business, you have to have insurance because accident. You may never have ever had an accident in your company, but it still can happen. So you have to have insurance in place for something like that. So we like to look at it as that those pieces of what we do are we're at least looking at your business for you and telling you, well, this is what you know what you do as a business. We got to get to understand your needs and say, well, these are the pieces that you're not looking at where you might have a problem. You don't have a firewall, your networks, whatever it is. Like you have computers that are very outdated. This is a problem. They're on the internet and they're connected to your financials.
And to that point, like, now one thing with the insurance, right? Um, Insurance is a requirement by law,
Mhm.
car insurance. So we talked about the driver. So, as I was stating earlier, I believe that there's going to be regulations in place that are going to force companies to have a certain degree of protection for their business. Regardless of cybersecurity, I think, from a government standpoint, I see that being regulated at some point. Not that I'm a huge fan of regulation, I am not, but nonetheless, there really needs to be protection, because if you're going to rely on somebody else to get you out of it, then you should be doing your best due diligence to make sure that you're best protected.
Yeah, I don't think that unfortunately some businesses look at it that way and find that they're never going to be, like I could never have a problem. That just doesn't affect me. We've never had those problems. But they're targeting the the actors that are doing the bad stuff. That it's getting easier and easier for them to do it. And it's in a lot of scenarios, it's a lot easier for people around the world. I just don't want to make this like uh, uh, people around the world. You get more people are online, so you get your business is exposed to more people who are potentially bad people, trying to do something to you, to steal from you, to do whatever it is. It might not be necessarily theft; it could be something else.
And there are automated systems now that
Yeah,
literally anybody could go in and just write a virus, create a virus, and through a GUI
email it
interface,
out.
and then push it out.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't want to mention any company names in that, but there are several at the top of my mind right now. But and they're huge organizations, that are funding this. It's big. It's a big business.
It's business. It definitely is business. It's obviously it's a black negative business in that sense, but it's business, dark.
So this is another element in our discussion, the source of the threats and how these threats are generated. And also, Jim mentioned um, that governments may also step in and say to businesses, in order to operate in that sector, in this XYZ sector, you must be compliant with this framework. Today, it is indirectly the case because for some people, in order to partner with others, for some businesses, in order to partner with others, they require some compliance with some frameworks.
Mhm.
But it's not a government mandatory requirement saying if you want to have a license to operate as an MSSP or as a financial or a fintech company by the government, you must comply to SOC 2 or to NIST or whatever. But it may really come, as Jim said.
Yeah, it may. And I mean, if you think about it, healthcare already is governed. FDA and governs, pharmaceuticals companies and HIPAA regulations. I mean, there's already regs, mandatory regs in there. It's just going to expand. So that was just one example.
Yeah, so and our discussion goes to open this not so nice box, and the question would be, who would be benefiting from new attacks and testing new threats against others, right? Or who would be behind or financing them or supporting them, or how
Yeah,
this network would be operating and what would its
right.
function be. So um, Chris used the word dark, but um, so
Dark web.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is something like, if I would say, I would comment on this like opposing forces that they are testing an immunity system or something like how, so both are in the long term necessary, but yeah, how you can protect yourself, it's the biggest challenge here.
Yeah.
So, Jim, what is the vision for Slick Cybersystems? How do you see this company going forward?
I we are we are pushing to grow significantly over the next 2, 3 years. And so, yeah, I mean, I've always had the philosophy of stay lean and mean, but not to a fault. You have to know when to make the next acquisition or move or push or, FTE. It's just you need you need to you need to understand your business. MSP is a business like, any other business, right? We're service based, product based on occasion, but mostly service based. So, like any service-based business, you if you're not growing, your monthly recurring revenue (MRR), then you're not growing the company for long-term strategy. So we are pushing heavily to expand.
Very nice. Are you considering the same areas, let's say MSP or MSSP, or you would like to see other IT areas that you would like to expand? So, or you see traction, you come traditionally from that space, and you would like to expand in that space. So, how do you see other areas, or you would prefer to stay in the same area that you started with?
We're primarily our main focus is in the MSP, MSSP arenas, but I think AI is also going to be driving us into another direction as well, utilizing AI, and so that is going to become a huge tool set for uh, I'll call it business operations for the customer, helping them streamline and do things faster, better, more efficient. So that's really the direction I see us going.
That's really interesting. So, do you see Slick Cyber System having their own AI solution for a SOC, for example, or for a threat mitigation
I
solution?
I, I don't know if we're going to take it quite in that far in that direction. I would see it more used as how can we provide a service to the customer to help streamline something, make something more efficient in their business. Maybe it's a process or an operation that takes 4 hours to do today amongst 3 people. if we could use AI to automate that and have it done in 20 minutes, with one person's intervention, that's an extreme efficiency advantage, right? So that's kind of my thought process behind it, as opposed to trying to reinvent the wheel, that large companies already are making good products, utilizing AI, from the managed stock and all that kind of stuff. My opinion.
Yes. Yeah. I understand, and a lot of companies are going in that direction actually to create such solutions. So, and I also see your point of view, how to leverage the existing solutions to offer some value for the end customer.
Right. It is a brave new world right now. Time to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. For you, Chris, vision for Slick Cybersystems?
Much like Jim had said, I think operational efficiencies, I think those things that AI and or technology will allow us to make a business partner, someone that we're performing business services for, better. I think that's where we need to be positioned. We need to make sure that we are providing a service that is needed, and it might be something they don't at this point they don't have the tool sets or the knowledge to get them to where they need to be. Is give them the skills from our side, our staff, or align them with partners that would provide those value software, value services to help them. I think that's where it is. Business efficiencies is probably our biggest potential for growth in the next couple of years.
Thank you very much. Thank you really for being present today and for our discussion. Much appreciated. I will wish the best
Thanks
for
for
your
having us.
company and your vision, Jim and Chris. And indeed, as the times are changing and the challenges are changing, I wish the best for expansion and growth.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching and listening. It's really, and until our next episode. Thank you very much.
Thanks.